Hello. 9 years ago during this time, ISIS attacked my ancestral village of Telkaif, which is in northern Iraq. It was a Chaldean town that was mostly inhabited by Iraqi Christians. Last week, during the 9th anniversary of this attack, I attended a hybrid talk by Dr Salah al Jabari at the University College of London. He is the Director of UNESCO Chair for Genocide Prevention Studies in the Islamic World. For over an hour, he focused solely on the Shia genocide, with only brief mentions of the Yazidis in Iraq. He did not mention a word about Christians. At the end of his talk, which was for over an hour, I posed the question, why hasn't the speaker mentioned a word about Christians? In 2016, the US declared ISIS had committed genocide against Yazidis, Christians, and Shia Muslims. Dr. Jabari's first reason for not mentioning them was that the Christians' genocide was somewhat less important. This was followed by other reasons of displacement, diaspora, etc. All were infuriating responses. The next day, I emailed UNESCO and UNESCO Genocide Prevention about my concern that someone like him is chairing such a position that's supposed to be of service to all those who had experienced genocide, and not only groups that are favorable in his opinion. The irony is that throughout his talk, he emphasized the importance of diversity in the Islamic world, and how if we're not going to acknowledge the genocides that were committed, then they are bound to be repeated, which actually has been the case for Christians. Throughout history, Christians have endured an unparalleled length of persecution in the Islamic world. In 2015, I published a book called Witnessing a Genocide. And in my book, I addressed the genocide committed against all Iraqis, the Shia, the Yazidis, the Sunnis, and other groups. I included in the book the Camp Spiker massacre, and I included the battles in Fallujah. Because my religion and my nationality does not interfere with me being a just person and not turning a blind eye to any atrocities committed against groups outside of my own. I want to read a part from my book. First of all, I want to say that my book opens with an introduction about my best friend in Baghdad, who was a Kurdish Shia Muslim. Her name was Niran, which means fire. She lived across from me in a house with a blue door. In the early 1980s, after I had already left Iraq and migrated to the United States, my mother heard news that Niran's family had to leave their home because of their origin. Iraq had entered war with Iran, and Kurds were a branch of the Iranian tree. On several occasions, the Kurdish fighters had carried out raids against the Iraqi regime, so successive laws were issued that forced people of Kurdish origin to move to the north in the Kurdistan region. By the way, the Kurds' history is also full of persecution. I want to read an excerpt. It's on page 62 of this book. On August 10th, 2014, we had around the corner of my home, because the city where I live, Sterling Heights, has the largest population of Chaldeans in Michigan. and Michigan has the largest population of Chaldeans in the world. It used to be Iraq had the largest population until what happened in 2014 with ISIS. And in 2014, on August 10th of 2014, we had protests around the corner here in our city, and people were really outraged with what was happening and wanted the U.S. government to do something to stop this genocide. And Muslims and Christians and Jews, came also and were involved in the protests. They were not okay with what was happening either.
Where are you? Obama, Obama, where are you? Obama, Obama, shame on you. 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 Obama, Obama, where are you? Obama, Obama, where are you? Iraqi Christians need you. Iraqi Christians need you. Obama, Obama, where are you? Obama, Obama, where are you? Iraqi Christians need you. Iraqi Christians need you. Down, down, ISIS. 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 Down, down.
So this is a humanitarian issue, and it's not something that relates to, picking and choosing which atrocities are less important than the other. But I do want to read an excerpt from my book. I had asked my cousin who had gone to the protests if she had went, and she said, yes, I went with my whole family, even my brothers and sisters. When I heard about Daesh killing innocent people, even children, I thought my birth country is not getting a break. It's happening all over again. They're taking my village this time. Have you heard from your relatives? I asked. No, we can't reach them. Amy's grandmother was born and raised in the village of Telkaif. Like the rest of the people in Telkaif, she fled when ISIS took over in early August. At first, Amy could not get a hold of her relatives. Then one day, her uncle sent her a message on Facebook, telling her they were safe. Each time we talk to my grandmother on the phone, she cries, said Amy. She cries, they took all of our stuff, our money, gold, personal belongings, everything. My grandmother got married and had her children in that house, so some of the items she left behind when she fled had much sentimental value. Many people wanted to return before the start of winter, when the harsh weather conditions would be unbearable without a roof over their head. With no international protection, we will not return to Telkaif, one man said. We have been suffering, living in fear for 10 years. Every day, when we leave our home, we don't know whether we will return, whether or not someone will kidnap us. When a Muslim comes from outside of Iraq, the first thing they do is attack Christians. During the 2003 US-led invasion, the Iraqi borders were left wide open, so no one had to knock on the doors to be allowed inside. Al-Qaeda, Kurdish rebels, Turkish troops, Sunni and Shia insurgents from Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Egypt, Syria, Yemen, from all over the Arab world, just packed up their explosive devices, artilleries, and mines and walked right through. They set up camp and militias and began formulating plots to kidnap, rape, and slaughter people, children included, and to bomb and destroy places with mind-numbing regularity. They caused 2.5 million Iraqis to flee to neighboring countries, and another 2.2 million in Iraq to be internally displaced. They started a massacre and forced an immigration and refugee crisis on the Christians like no other in Iraq's history. So, given what I just read, and given what has happened to the Christians, as well as, yes, other groups in Iraq, I think that it was deserving to include the Christians in the UNESCO's chairman of the genocide prevention seat, the chairman of that position, to include them in his talk. But I have included them in this video, and I do pray that, yes, people understand the power of embracing each other, regardless of national or religious background, as well as acknowledging what has happened so it does not continue or repeat itself. Thank you for watching.